Let's talk about productivity. A while ago I made a video about working hard and how I think that hard work makes people happier. It is always in your best interest to work as hard as you can when you have to work. But having said that, I also think that Western culture has a problem with work. I think we work too much. The modern day typical 40-hour work week is extreme compared to how much people worked in the past, especially when you consider that people took longer breaks during parts of the year like winter or summer depending on the culture. And a lot of people work more than 40 hours a week. There's just no way that that is healthy. Human beings were not meant to sit at a desk or labor for 8 straight hours every day, 5 days a week. We are a workaholic culture, and on top of that, there's a push beyond our everyday jobs to be productive. There's a sense of urgency, a need to get things done. There's a whole industry of books, podcasts, and speakers that make a living encouraging people to be productive. Every week, dozens of articles come out on the internet on how to be more productive. Our culture is inordinately obsessed with being busy and productive. We feel like we need to do things, accomplish goals, and produce products. We constantly have to be doing things. But why do we feel like we need to be busy all the time? Why do we feel bad when we're not accomplishing goals? Is it because we feel like we need to do things in order for our lives to have significance? I think it is. In the past, people found meaning in several different kinds of ethics. For example, the warrior ethic, which says my life has significance because I can fight, defend my home, and have a good reputation. I can win honor and glory for myself. Or in a religious ethic, my life has significance because of my relation to God or the gods. Or because of a communal ethic. I have an essential role in the community. I have significance because I am the shaman or the craftsman or the midwife, or because I'm a husband or wife, a father or mother. This is why rites of passage and elaborate ceremonies were such a big element of life. The rite of passage let the individual know that you are a man or a woman now, and you have a significant role to play in the community. Entering manhood and womanhood used to mean that you entered into a duty and role which everyone recognized as needed and celebrated. But what happens when all of that is stripped away? What happens when we take away every duty and responsibility and role from the individual? Well, it makes it more difficult for the individual to feel like his or her life has meaning because each individual is now forced to make up that meaning for him or herself. You are forced to justify your own significance to yourself. You have to prove that your life is worthwhile. And you do this by trying to make a difference somewhere. You do things. You become productive. This is exactly what happened to one person who looked to productivity for meaning. He chronicled his journey of busyness and how it led to meaninglessness and disillusionment in the ancient Hebrew book of Ecclesiastes. The author of Ecclesiastes claims to be a king, which is important because people who are poor and powerless tend to be oriented toward survival. At least that was the case for much of human history before the implementation of welfare, and it's still true today in third world countries. When day-to-day, week-to-week survival is a full-time endeavor, then life itself becomes an end in itself, an inherently meaningful pursuit. You are thankful just to be alive every day. But what happens when a person becomes self-sustaining? What does he do with his time, and how does he find worth in life? Well, he sets out being productive, and he tries to find meaning by doing things. The king tells us, I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks and planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had slaves who were born in my house. I also had great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who had been before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold and the treasure of kings and provinces. So I became great. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was my reward for my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil that I had expended in doing it, and behold, all was vanity and a striving after wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. In the end, the king was no better off for all of his productivity. He had made no meaningful progress. He really had not gained anything. All of his accomplishments and possessions and achievements were like wind and would pass away like breath. None of it would last, and he could only enjoy it for a little while before he would grow weary of it. So he tells us, "I hated all my toil. I turned about and gave my heart up to despair over all the toil of my labors under the sun." The danger of busyness and indiscriminate productivity is burnout, bitterness, despair. Because in the end, all these things that we do don't last, and really none of it matters. They are vanity. They are like trying to grasp the wind. If this sounds nihilistic, it's only because we put so much hope and value in things that don't last. And Ecclesiastes is trying to warn us against putting our hope in things that don't last, or things that won't make us happy. It warns us against putting our time and effort into things that are meaningless. Instead, Ecclesiastes tries to orient us toward the present moment. There is nothing better for a person than that he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. The wise person is satisfied with this. We should cultivate joy in the present, in the here and now, instead of looking for something else in the future to make us happy. There is nothing better for them than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. We should invest in things that are not productive, but that are truly meaningful. Go, eat your bread with joy, and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already approved what you do. Let your garments be always white. Let not oil be lacking on your head. Enjoy life with the wife whom you love, all the days of your vaporous life that he has given you under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with your might, for there is no work, or thought, or knowledge, or wisdom in Sheol to which you are going. What if, instead of being productive, we spent more time with our families and creating bonds with other people? What if we spent more time savoring meals instead of rushing off to our to-do lists? What if we didn't schedule life? What if we had fewer goals and worked harder at one or two things instead of working longer? What if we enjoyed what we do for a living instead of working in order to enjoy life? When you reach the end of your life, will you wish that you had achieved more goals and been busier and worked more? Or will you wish that you had enjoyed your life in the present moment, been joyful all your days, and spent time with your family instead of working and being productive? It's worth thinking about now, while you can still change things before it's too late.